In a quiet town nestled between rolling hills, there stood a small but bustling local grocery store. The shelves were always stocked with fresh produce, and the aisles filled with the sounds of customers chatting and shopping. It wasn't much, but for the people in this town, it was a place they could rely on for their everyday needs. Behind the register was Emma, a young woman with soft features and kind eyes, who had worked there for as long as anyone could remember. Emma had always been a quiet, reserved person. She came from a modest background, raised by her parents in a small home on the outskirts of town. Her father had passed away years ago, leaving her mother, who was now sick, with little ability to care for herself. Emma took on the responsibility of supporting them both, working long hours as a cashier for minimum wage. Every day was a battle to make ends meet, but she did it with a quiet determination. Though she smiled at the customers, no one seemed to notice the weight she carried. She often used coupons to stretch every dollar, a small trick she'd learned over the years. Emma never complained, always keeping her head down, hoping that one day things would get better. Little did she know, one fateful moment was about to change everything. It was a typical afternoon at the store, busy, chaotic, and filled with the hum of impatient customers. The line at the checkout stretched long, and the air buzzed with the sound of carts rolling over the linoleum floors. Emma had seen days like this before, but today felt different. The store was packed, and the pressure was mounting. She scanned items quickly, her movements efficient and practiced. A well-dressed woman, polished in an expensive coat and designer handbag, approached the counter, her cart piled high with groceries. Emma greeted her with a warm smile, doing her best to keep her composure despite the weight of the crowd around her. As she began to scan the items, the woman handed over a stack of coupons. Emma accepted them with a nod, preparing to apply the discounts. Coupons, really? The woman scoffed, her voice loud enough for the people in line behind her to hear. How cheap can you be? You're practically begging for discounts. The words hit Emma like a slap to the face. She tried to stay focused on her work, but the woman wasn't done. Desperate, huh? I guess some people will do anything to save a buck. The woman continued, her tone dripping with judgment. Emma's heart sank as she glanced up, catching the eyes of the people waiting in line. She could see the judgment in their stares, the whispered comments that quickly followed. She must be broke, one of them muttered. Emma's cheeks flushed with embarrassment, but she said nothing, biting her lip to hold back the tears. She forced a tight smile, trying to push through the humiliation, but the sting of their words was too much. Inside, she was struggling to keep herself together. She wasn't cheap, she was doing what she had to, but in that moment, it felt like the whole world was watching, judging her for something she had no control over. During her break, Emma sat in the small staff room at the back of the store, her head resting against the cold wall. The loud chatter from the store seemed so far away now, muffled as she tried to process what had just happened. The words of the well-dressed woman replayed in her mind, each one sharper than the last. Cheap, desperate, they cut deeper than Emma expected. It wasn't just the words. It was the way everyone in line had looked at her, as if they were seeing her for the first time. She was no longer just the cashier. She was the girl who used coupons to survive. The weight of judgment sat heavy in her chest. It reminded her of her childhood, how her parents had worked tirelessly to provide for her, always making do with less. Her mother had sewn clothes when they couldn't afford new ones, and her father had taken on odd jobs, working late into the night. They never complained, and they never asked for help. Those sacrifices, those long hours, had shaped Emma into the person she was today, someone who worked hard, no matter how difficult things became. She wanted to tell herself that she wasn't the problem, that the world was too quick to judge people who didn't have the luxury of excess. But doubt crept in like a shadow, whispering that maybe, just maybe, she wasn't enough. Her shift ended, and she left the store feeling drained, emotionally, physically. Every part of her felt exhausted, but there was one thing that still kept her going. Her mother, at home, her mother's fragile health reminded her why she couldn't give up. She had to keep going. There was no other choice. The next morning, as Emma walked toward the store, something felt off. A large group of people had gathered outside, their faces filled with confusion and concern. She could hear snippets of their conversation, but it wasn't until she got closer that she saw the closed for business sign hanging on the door. a stark contrast to the usual bustle. Her heart sank as she entered the store. Inside, the employees were gathered in hushed groups, whispering nervously. It was clear something big had happened. Emma overheard a conversation between two of the older employees near the break room. They say the owner's gone bankrupt, one woman was saying. The bank's taking over, and the place is being foreclosed. We might lose our jobs. Emma's stomach twisted. She knew the store had been struggling, but she never imagined it would come to this. She could see the fear on the employees' faces, the uncertainty about their future, the worry about paying their bills. The thought of losing her job was a heavy blow, but as she stood there, a flicker of something else stirred inside her. Could this be her chance? Could this disaster be the opening she had been waiting for? As the morning wore on, Emma pushed her worries aside, doing her best to help keep things running smoothly, but her mind kept returning to that flicker of hope. She was used to fighting for everything she had. What if this time, she could fight for something bigger? Later that afternoon, just as Emma was finishing her shift, a well-dressed stranger walked into the store. His expensive suit stood out against the ordinary surroundings, and his air of mystery was undeniable. He moved with confidence, and Emma couldn't help but watch as he approached her. "Excuse me," the man said in a calm, yet commanding tone. "Are you Emma?" She nodded, taken aback by his sudden attention. "I'm John Harris, a representative from the bank," he said, introducing himself. "I've been following the situation here. I need to speak with you privately. Would you mind coming with me?" Emma's mind raced. What did he want? Why her? Something inside her stirred. Was this the chance she had been hoping for? Or was it just another twist in the long line of disappointments? She felt a mix of dread and curiosity, unsure of where this conversation would lead. Emma followed John Harris, the mysterious man, through the back door of the store, and into a quiet office space. It was far removed from the noisy chaos of the sales floor, and the moment the door closed behind her, she felt a shift in the air, a tension, almost as if the room itself held secrets waiting to be revealed. John sat down at the desk, motioning for Emma to take the chair across from him. His presence was imposing, but his tone was calm, almost reassuring. "I'm not a representative from the bank, Emma," he said, and she froze, caught off guard. "I'm a real estate agent in charge of selling this property." Emma blinked, trying to process his words. She had assumed he was there to explain the foreclosure process, or maybe even deliver more bad news. But what he said next made her heart skip a beat. "The bank has been looking for someone who understands the store's operations, someone who can revitalize it, make it work again. And well, I've been following you for the past few weeks." Emma's eyes widened in disbelief. "He's been following me?" Her mind raced. How could he possibly know her, let alone track her movements? He continued, his voice steady. "You've been here every day, working with customers, organizing the shelves, handling things with such care. The bank believes someone like you, someone who understands this place, is exactly what it needs." "And I agree." Emma was silent, unsure how to respond. She had never thought of herself as special. She was just a cashier, just someone trying to make it through each day. She certainly never imagined someone would be watching her, let alone consider her worthy of running a store. "I know this might seem out of the blue, but I have an offer for you." He leaned forward, his eyes locked with hers. "You could buy the store, at a fraction of its current value, and with an extended payment plan that makes it affordable. The bank needs someone who's invested in this place, not just in terms of money, but heart." Emma's breath caught in her throat. "Buy the store." The words echoed in her mind, and she struggled to process them. She had never even dreamed of owning a business. She was just a girl trying to get by. But there in front of her was an opportunity she couldn't ignore. Her mind raced with questions. Could she really do it? Could she be the one to turn this place around? What if she failed? But then a different thought crossed her mind. What if this is my chance? She remembered the mockery from the day before, the woman's harsh words still stinging in her memory. She remembered her parents, how hard they'd worked for everything they had, how they never gave up, even when things seemed impossible. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the decision pressing down on her. The fear of failure gnawed at her, but something else burned inside of her, determination. This was her moment. She couldn't let fear hold her back. "I'll do it," Emma said, her voice steady, despite the turmoil inside her. I'll buy the store. John smiled, a knowing look in his eyes. Good, I'll have the paperwork ready for you to sign. As she signed the contract a few minutes later, Emma felt a mix of fear and excitement, the weight of her decision heavy in her hands. She didn't know if she was ready for what was to come, but she knew one thing for certain: this was her chance to prove herself. She wasn't just a cashier anymore, she was the owner, and she was determined to make it work. The days following Emma's purchase of the store were nothing like she had imagined. The excitement that initially filled her chest quickly faded as the weight of responsibility settled in. She was no longer just a cashier, now she was the owner, and that came with a long list of tasks she had never expected. Every day was filled with uncertainty, hard work, and sleepless nights. As she tried to navigate the world of business, she spent hours poring over inventory, making sure nothing was missing, learning about pricing strategies, and handling the store's finances. She had no experience running a business. Everything she knew was based on her years as a cashier, learning by observation, but now she had to be the one making decisions. She also had to manage a team of employees, some of whom had been there long before she arrived. At first, many of them were skeptical about her ability to lead. They'd worked under the old owner for years and hadn't expected someone like Emma to take over. Some even questioned her qualifications, wondering how someone who had once been behind the register could possibly manage the place. What does she know about running a store? They'd whisper, she doesn't belong here. Emma could feel the doubt in the air, but she pushed through it. She used the same resourcefulness that had helped her survive her entire life, couponing and budgeting skills. Only now it was about more than just saving a few dollars for herself. She made small strategic improvements, like organizing the aisles more efficiently, listening to her customers' feedback, and introducing a rewards program that brought in more regulars. Slowly, the store began to feel like a place where people wanted to shop, rather than just a place to grab what they needed. The first time a customer complimented her on the changes, Emma's heart soared. It wasn't just a fleeting compliment, it was genuine. People were starting to notice the new atmosphere, the attention to detail, the friendliness of the staff. Slowly, the store began to thrive again, and Emma could feel the pride building in her chest. The emotional payoff came one quiet evening, when Emma was working late, rearranging some stock. She paused for a moment, looking around the store. The shelves were neatly organized, the light fixtures were brighter, and the air felt welcoming. It was far from perfect, but it was hers. Her thoughts drifted back to the mockery she had faced only weeks ago, the woman's cruel words, the judgment from the customers. At the time, Emma had doubted herself, but now, as she stood in the store she had fought so hard to make her own, she realized something. She had proven herself, not just to the world, but to herself. She was capable. She had turned something that was falling apart into a thriving, welcoming place, and that was no small feat. The pride she felt in that moment was more than just business success, it was personal victory. Months passed, and the store continued to grow under Emma's careful guidance. She had transformed not only the store, but herself in the process. She was no longer just the cashier who had been mocked, she was the owner, the leader, and the one who had fought for her place. Emma had proven to everyone, especially herself, that she was more than capable of running this business. Then one afternoon, the well-dressed woman who had humiliated Emma months ago walked into the store. Emma's heart skipped a beat as the woman approached the checkout counter, her cart filled with items. This time, though, there was no mocking tone, no judgmental words. The woman looked around the store, taking in the clean aisles, the fresh displays, and the welcoming atmosphere. Wow, the woman said, her voice almost soft with surprise. I have to admit, I wasn't expecting this. The store looks completely different. It's impressive. You've really turned this place around. Emma stood still for a moment, taking in the woman's words. She had heard people praise the changes in the store before, but hearing it from the same woman who had once called her cheap and desperate felt like a bittersweet victory. The woman hesitated, as if gathering her thoughts. I was wrong to judge you. I see now how hard you've worked. I'm really impressed by everything you've done here. Emma listened silently, her emotions swirling, but she didn't feel the need to rub her success in the woman's face. Instead, she simply smiled, and said, "Thank you, your support means a lot." The woman nodded, paid for her items, and walked out of the store. Emma watched her go, feeling a sense of closure. She didn't need validation from anyone, not from the woman, not from the customers. She had done this for herself, and for her family. In that moment, Emma realized something profound. She had not only transformed the store, she had transformed herself. She wasn't the person who had been mocked, she was the one who made it happen, and that was all the validation she needed. As Emma stood in the doorway of the store, watching the soft glow of the lights reflect off the polished floors, she felt a deep sense of pride and peace. The store, once struggling, was now thriving, thanks to her determination, hard work, and unwavering belief in herself. Customers wandered the aisles, chatting and laughing, completely unaware of how much effort had gone into turning the place around. Emma's journey hadn't been easy, but it had been worth it. She had faced mockery, doubt, and countless sleepless nights, yet through it all, she had never given up. The store had become more than just a business. It had become a symbol of resilience in the community. People now saw her as someone who had overcome the odds, a woman who had taken control of her future and turned adversity into success. Looking around, Emma realized that she didn't need validation from anyone. She had already proven to herself that she was capable. Her confidence came from within, not from the approval of others. With a smile, Emma turned to face the future. She had turned a moment of mockery into a triumph, and with determination and heart, she had shown that anything was possible. Thank you so much for watching Emma's incredible journey of resilience and determination. Her story is a powerful reminder that no matter how many obstacles life throws at us, we can always rise above with hard work and belief in ourselves. Emma turned mockery into triumph, and her story proves that anything is possible when you don't give up. If you enjoyed this story, please give us a thumbs up, leave a comment below, and share it with your friends. We'd love to hear what you think. Did Emma's journey inspire you? Don't forget to subscribe for more uplifting and inspiring stories like this one. Thank you for your support.